Did Elvis Presley steal his timeless hit Hound Dog from a black artist? We're going to cover the real story here today on Speechless. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 22-year-old conservative college student out of Central Illinois, host of Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. But I also obviously do some off-air content like what I'm doing right now here on YouTube. Everybody, if you like what you hear, don't forget to smash that like button at the bottom. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss a minute. Hit that notification bell to all because we know ScrewTube tries to keep some of the messages I say off the airwaves. But also, don't forget to share this with your friends so they can, too, also know the real history behind the song Hound Dog. Yes, Hound Dog, the prolific song that has caused much controversy. Earlier on my channel, I did a reaction to the song If I Can Dream, where I laid out how Elvis didn't really steal music from black artists, but I had a lot of people say, look up Hound Dog. Look up Hound Dog and Big Mama Thornton. Tell me what you think then. Look up Hound Dog. And so I approach everything with an open mind. I approach it saying, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe If I Can Dream wasn't stolen. Maybe some of his sound wasn't stolen, but maybe this one was. And so I looked into it, and here is the real story. But first, I think we need to listen to the songs and react to them a little bit, and then listen to both of them, to be clear. Big Mama Thornton's version and Elvis's. React to them. Let's notice the similarities, notice the differences, and come to a real conclusion. So the first one we're going to look at is Elvis Presley's version, which he performed on the Ed Sullivan Show. We're going to look at this as its own, and then we're going to compare it as well. So let's take a look and a listen. This was October 28th, 1956, about the year that this song came out on one of Elvis's albums. This is about 67 years ago. Beautiful song. Let's take a look and a listen.
Now, ladies and gentlemen.
Here's Ed Sullivan.
Yes, that's right. Elvis Presley.
Man, the myth, the legend, coming on out. Looking like $1 million.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I have your attention, please?
Take my banner off up here.
I'd like to tell you that we're going to do a sad song for you. This song here is one of the saddest songs we've ever heard.
Such a good crowd presence on this time.
It really tells a story, friends.
Really tells a story. He had such a good, he comes out, we're going to play you a sad song. We're going to play you a sad song. And then he plays this hit. And you guys have probably heard it before. Many people have. It's been a hit for a long time. But I just think it's just his stage presence in and of itself just commanded an audience and commanded their attention. Not only the look that he has, obviously the iconic Elvis look, the iconic Elvis hairdo, the eyes, and kind of the softer features, but just the way he talked to the crowd too. Amazing.
Beautiful lyrics. It goes something like this.
He's teasing him too with the arm motion and everything. He's teasing the audience. He knows how to command a crowd. He knows. Where's the king?
You ain't nothing You ain't nothing Well, you ain't never gonna remember now you ain't no friend.
With the hip, the knees.
Well, you ain't never gonna rap it and you ain't no friend.
No, you ain't.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog rocking on. Well, you ain't never gonna rap it and you ain't no friend.
There's the solo. They said it.
Well, you ain't never gonna rap it and you ain't no friend.
On the toes too.
you ain't never caught a rabbit. You ain't no good.
Amazing. Amazing performance off the B side of that album. Crowd cheering for him.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to tell you, friends, I'd like to tell you, please, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to tell you that on Thanksgiving Day, I think that our new picture is to be released, and also we'll be back with Mr. Ed Sullivan in January. I'd like to thank all the millions of wonderful people that are watching in tonight, friends, and I'd like to say this, until we meet you again, may God bless you as he's blessed me. Thank you very much.
So once again, just knows how to control a crowd. Amazing song. Like I said earlier, it's a timeless hit that pretty much anybody can rock along with. Absolutely. And we're going to break it down a little bit more, but I do want, because again, was this stolen from Big Mama Thornton? Was it stolen from Big Mama Thornton? Well, to answer that question, let's listen to Big Mama Thornton's version of the song, which was released, but I believe 4 years earlier. It was released earlier. If I'm remembering correctly, it was about 4 years earlier is when it was recorded and released. And so let's take a look at one of her version of the song, which you'll notice some staggering differences. So let's take a look and a listen right here.
You ain't nothing but a hound.
Strong, commanding voice from the beginning.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog. It's that I know.
Yep.
You can wag your tail, but I ain't gonna be you don't. Told me you I could, but I can see through that. Yeah, you know me I could, but I can see through that.
A lot more piano prominent in the background, I can tell.
You ain't no real cool cat. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. There's something wrong, dog. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. There's something wrong, dog. You can wag your tail, but I ain't gonna be like you know.
She's such a soulful, beautiful soul voice as well. Mm-hmm.
You made me feel so blue. You made me weep and moan. You ain't looking for a woman. Why you looking at phone? You ain't nothing but a hound dog. When snooping around my door. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. When snooping around my door. You can wag your tail, but I ain't gonna be you know. And bow wow to you too.
Bow out to you two, God. She great singer, amazing song. Both versions are amazing. Both versions. So let's look as we attempt to answer the question: did Elvis Presley steal Hound Dog from Big Mama Thornton, the original performer of the song? Okay, let's break this down a little bit. So let's look at some of the similarities of the song. You obviously have the line and very strong opening of "You ain't nothing but a hound dog," of course. And some of the general cadence of the song. Some of it. You know, you can kind of hear not necessarily similar beat, not the same rhythm necessarily, but similar beat and somewhat of the same tone. So I'll admit there are some similarities and I hear some. But overall, what I listed are about it. If you heard any others, leave it in the comments. Let me know. Let me know how I'm wrong. I always want to know how I'm wrong, but that's my thought. And you could, like I said, you could tell there's some influence, but Elvis's is much different than the original. And so let's go through some of those differences. So obviously the lyrics and thus the messaging are different. Elvis is the lyrics, you ain't ever caught a rabbit, you ain't no friend of mine. That's never once in Big Mama Thornton's whatsoever. Changing those lyrics, and even the singer in this instance, also changes the message. So while I love the song of Elvis's version, I love it. I rock out with it. I listen to it all the time. I'll be honest, I listen to it more than Big Mama Thornton's. It is, the take in it is much more shallow. What do I mean by that? It's more of a shallow take. His version, if you listen to the lyrics and everything that he says, is seemingly simply about a dog. A hound dog, never caught a rabbit, ain't no friend of mine, just a hound dog, lazy. It's a lazy dog. Big Mama Thornton's version is a lot deeper than that. It's all about telling off a good-for-nothing guy. Let's go through some of the excerpts. So she says, you ain't nothing but a hound dog, been snooping around my door. You can wag your tail, but I ain't going to feed you no more. So I'm not going to do anything. So the dog is a metaphor for a good-for-nothing dude. Been snooping around my door. You've been coming around here. You've been coming trying to get me to feed you, get me to do things for you, be your woman, do things for you. But I'm not going to do it anymore. Yes, you told me you was high class, but I could see through that. And Daddy, I know you ain't no real cool cat. So he's been lying to her. Been talking himself up, but can't back it up. Then he says later, yeah, Big Mama Thornton says later, you made me weep and moan because you ain't looking for a woman. All you're looking for is a home. This guy doesn't care about her. You don't care about, the message she's saying is you don't care about me. You'd be good with any woman who did the things I do for you. I'm not special to you. You don't treat me like I'm special. Treat me like crap and you make me weep and moan. And so at this time, back in the early 1950s, when women were still socially subservient to men and still seen that way and treated as such, and especially black women, Thornton's version was very, very edgy and rebellious in its messaging. Now, Elvis's version was edgy and rebellious in its own right, but not in terms of its messaging. There's a stark difference in terms of that. And it's important to recognize those differences, especially when you're trying to say, did he steal it from her? No, the messaging of Thornton's is still there. And to this day, still is haunting, especially due to her very soulful, powerful, and just strong and beautiful voice. Now, Elvis's was, like I said, edgy and rebellious, but not because of lyrical messaging, because of its musical messaging. Elvis's version increased the tempo. It had sound density that was also increased due to the number of instruments used and thus the overall loudness. It was much of a louder song. And for a time when most music was pretty tame, quieter, or slower, this made people want to wiggle their hips and dance like Elvis did, which was also something that was seen, some people claim, is the devil's music because of the feelings it gave to people. The provocation that came from that kind of sound was rebellious in its own right and led to generational changes in rock and roll and music in general. So also within as some differences to those songs is the vocals in Big Mama Thornton's version are slower pitched than the cover by Elvis, giving his own version a brighter feel. Not to mention Elvis's voice obviously is much different. He takes kind of that grainier tone in a lot of it. The you ain't nothing but as Big Mama Thornton's is like, you ain't nothing but a and obviously I can't do her voice as well as she can, but hers comes off as much smoother than Elvis's grainy. So that there is a lot of difference there. And so this is something I love about music. Two people can hear a similar tune, same melody, even some of the same lyrics, and take it in completely different directions. This is seen all the time through music. Joe Cocker did this with the song With a Little Help from My Friends, which was originally covered by the Beatles. More recently, Chris Stapleton did it with Tennessee Whiskey, which was originally by David Allan Coe. And then even just this year, Fast Car blew up on the charts when it was performed by Luke Combs, but it was originally an R&B hit by Tracy Chapman when it was released decades earlier. But people want to stoke division based on race. They did that with Luke Combs. And they still try to do it with Elvis. They want to stoke these divisions and continue to say that legends are frauds. And they're stealers and racists. And even despite the differences that I just laid out in the two versions, of Hound Dog, people will still claim that this song was stolen. But that's because they don't know the real history. So here it is. First off, Elvis was born and raised in the ghettos of Tupelo, Mississippi, where the majority of the population in these ghettos were black. He attended black churches and was heavily influenced by black music. Almost any famous musician that you listen to will tell you that their sound, their songs were influenced by music that they grew up on. And even if they don't tell you that, even if the musician doesn't tell you that, I guarantee you it probably still was. This doesn't mean that they stole the song or they stole a sound. It means that they were inspired. And that's exactly what Elvis was. He was inspired by a lot of it, by a lot of black music. And that's just everything in Elvis as a whole. I mentioned a lot of that in my If I Can Dream video. I'll tag it in the comments or something, or maybe right up there. So you can go watch that one if you haven't. But second, when it comes to Hound Dog specifically, Big Mama Thornton didn't even write it. So so to a lot of these people that falsely claim that Elvis stole this song, they say that without even knowing that Big Mama Thornton didn't even write this song. The song was originally written by two white guys, Mike Stoller and Jerry Lieber, in what Stoller says was about 15 minutes. They wrote it after seeing Big Mama Thornton perform, and they were blown away by her performance. They loved it. And so they wrote it for her. So if Elvis did steal the song, it would be from them, the two white guys, not from Big Mama Thornton. But even Mike Stoller said in Rolling Stone in an interview back in 2022 that Elvis never stole this song. In fact, as the story goes, according to multiple sources, including AmericanSongwriter.com and The Independent, Elvis was aware of Big Mama Thornton's version, but as he was facing a lackluster audience when he did his first run in Vegas, he was looking to spice up the act that he had so that it would appeal to the older audience that he was getting in Vegas that he wasn't getting when he was on tour, and it was a lot of younger people. And so what he did is when he was listening to other Vegas acts, and one of the number one acts in Vegas at the time was Freddie Bell and the Bell Boys. And they performed a version of Hound Dog that was more of a swing version. He took that version and turned it into a more rock and roll version that we know today. Then he also changed some of the lyrics, and added some, like, you ain't ever caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. Obviously, we all know that one. Elvis's version became a smash hit as it kind of was part of the breaking of ground for what rock and roll became, which was heavily influenced by R&B sound, but an increased tempo and a change in tone. And interestingly enough, Hound Dog, Elvis's version, became a smash hit that climbed to number 2 on the charts. Number 2. What was number 1? Don't Be Cruel, which is also an Elvis song, which was on the same album that Hound Dog was, except for Don't Be Cruel was on the A side. Now, what I do want to say about all of this, because it's clear to me, and it would be clear to any person who knows the history and can look at things rationally, that Elvis did not steal Big Mama Thornton's Hound Dog. But what I do want to say is that Big Mama Thornton was never fully compensated for her work on Hound Dog, her version of the song, or the influence that it did create. According to documents in the Library of Congress, she was paid one $500 check, and that was it. No royalties or anything. She didn't receive any of that off of its success, which, by the way, her version of the song did make it to number 1 on the Billboard R&B charts for 7 weeks. But why was she never compensated? It wasn't because of Elvis. It was because of the racism that was genuinely fraught within the music industry at that time. Again, nothing to do with Elvis. Now, that's not excusing the fact that she was never fully compensated. But what was happening is many record labels made up crap contracts that would offer poor black artists a lump sum up front, and then would never actually, and then because of that lump sum, it would get the artist, they would say, oh my gosh, this is more money than I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to sign this. But then what would happen is in that same contract that they sign, it would basically cut the artist out of any and all profits made after, any royalties from their performances, their continuing work, anything like that. And so then they would never be fully compensated. Ever. They didn't even own the rights to a lot of their own music. This happened in Motown a lot. It was an awful practice that lasted in the music industry for a long time and deserves to be called out and reflected on, because it was a time where racism was still fraught in a lot of industries. But again, none of that was Elvis's fault. So that is, in short, the real history. Elvis did not steal Hound Dog from Big Mama Thornton. Even the real writer of the song says Elvis didn't steal it. So what he did do is he built off the song like others did before him and made it his own, like many have done in music for a long time. Anyone who says differently doesn't know their history and wants to sow more and more racial division that based on lies. Know your history, everybody. Know your history. Elvis did not steal this song. Elvis didn't steal anything. Elvis is a legend and is the king of rock and roll. He was not a racist. In fact, he did a lot of work to try to push for civil rights and was an advocate for civil rights, as I talked about in my If I Can Dream video. So know your history, everybody. It's important because it's lies, especially told primarily from people on one side of the political aisle that want to sow more and more racial division, and changing our history like they tried to do in music history with Elvis should not be acceptable. Knowing your real history would help us ensure that doesn't happen. Everybody, if you liked what you heard, please like, comment. Let me know what you think. Were there any other similarities or differences between the song? Did I miss something in my research? Let me know, please. Leave it in the comments. Share this video with your friends. And most importantly, please subscribe. Subscribe, ring that notification bell to all. I'd really appreciate it. God bless you. God bless America. And until next time, this has been Speechless.